White.
And I'm Anthea Morpheus, and welcome to tonight's podcast. It's
Yeah,
getting
we're
very
really excited
exciting.
to talk to you guys tonight. Every night is always a fantastic opportunity to talk to you guys on many different subjects, no matter what it is. We what we really want to start doing is bringing you guys like I'm maybe thinking on Wednesdays we'll call it like serious Wednesdays, and then Friday will be more of a fun, more relaxed topic which we can laugh and joke about. So you that way you get that balance of wow, they talk about serious things on like Wednesdays, Mondays and Wednesdays or just whatever, but we want to try to be able to give you guys a mixed bag of entertainment but also seriousness as well.
Absolutely, absolutely nice balance of it all. But this is a really good subject tonight, Michael, and it's a big subject, really, isn't it? It's are you addressing your traumas in your relationship? And we were discussing this earlier on, and I think one of the biggest things in this is rather than waiting to get into a relationship and addressing your traumas, I think if you could identify them before you enter a relationship, then that will work a lot more smoothly. And if things come up, because do you know what? I just want to say, like, I thought there were certain issues that I had addressed, and I was completely healed from it. And then get into a relationship, and I realized, well, actually, I'm trying to think of specifics here. And if I get to any specifics, I'll let you know. But I just remember thinking to myself, oh, I really thought I dealt with this and I hadn't. So it's not always as black and white as that. But I think once you're in the relationship, and if something like that does come up and something triggers you, it's so good to talk about it, isn't it, Michael? So good to get it out there and speak to your partner, let them know, look, I felt this jealousy, and it's, I thought that I dealt with this, but obviously I haven't. I feel really strongly about it. I don't, can we work through this together? And I think that is so much better than just shutting down and not saying anything, and then your partner wondering what's wrong, and then it kind of escalates from there, right?
I agree. Well, that's the thing. You brought up some amazing points. I think even when you're getting to know someone, like on a romantic level, obviously, you want to understand what you're signing up for.
Mm.
So I'm going to break down like 2 points, like getting to know someone and once you're in a relationship, because when you're getting to know somebody and you figure out what their traumas are and they're figuring out what yours are because you're being transparent, you both need to figure out if it's a trauma that you can deal with,
Yeah.
because some people's traumas are very difficult to deal with,
And
right?
they're
Like some
deep, right?
people, there's like immense pain there, like immense pain. Maybe they haven't gone to therapy or anything of the sort. So again, it's being able to identify is, can I handle this? If I get into a relationship with you, can I deal with your abandonment issues? Can I deal with your trust issues? Codependency is maybe not something maybe somebody you might not want to date because they're dependent on you. So they might need to go get that worked out.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that's quite a big one, isn't it? Because if you're just completely dependent on your partner for every aspect of it, it doesn't work. Because it's a lot. Because you have to have your own. You have to take responsibility for yourself, no matter what it is. No matter what we're talking about, it doesn't matter what subjects we talk about. But I think you've always got to take responsibility for self and what you're experiencing and what you're feeling, and not project it onto the other person. Because once you start projecting things and start turning it around and blaming the other person for something that you're feeling, that's when a lot of the massive breakdown happens.
But see, like each trauma is different. Like again, because let's look at the abandonment. Some people have abandonment issues worse than others. There could even be like again, I hate to say it and hopefully we don't get flagged for this, sexual trauma. So that's the thing. You need to know what it is you're dealing with. So there could be trauma where someone was like cheated on and it could have like impacted them.
Yeah, but I think the main thing here is to communicate that, because if you're holding it in and you're not saying anything, you just project it onto your partner, and your partner doesn't understand, doesn't know why. And I think that's where a breakdown happens, as in like a communication breakdown, and the relationship starts to crumble. But I
I
think
I do agree with you. Like you should talk about it, but you would want to understand it on a deeper level of what have they done to address it.
yeah, absolutely. But addressing it is talking about it, isn't it? Because you're now bringing it to the surface. You're now
Oh,
saying,
bigger than that. Like I mean, like let's say we'll give a dialogue. Let's say I'm dealing with somebody and they have like abandonment issues. I'm gonna ask, have they gone to therapy? Have they read books? Have they addressed it in that way? Yes, talking about it with me helps, but I want to know what steps
yeah, what
they've
they've
done
done. So
before me.
yeah, so far, what steps have you taken
Yeah,
up until this point to have this
exactly.
conversation? Yeah, no, I completely get that, absolutely. But
Because
I
that is
also,
going to be important. Because again, if they're just saying, I have all of these issues, but they've never addressed them,
and
that
this
could
is
be
the
a
first
problem.
time they're bringing it up, then they're going to have to start from where they are and start looking at. And some people will shut down and say some people don't even realize they've got these traumas happening. They
Hmm.
don't. They can't identify them. I think there's lots of people that don't know what it is, and they just get on, even though they've had the experiences. They and it's an experience. Let's say it's an experience like being cheated on, so it's very in the forefront of their mind, but they don't realize it's a trigger in the new relationship. And they haven't realized that, and it's not until so they might have not ever done anything about it because they didn't even know it was an issue to them. Walking into a new relationship, they might have thought, oh, okay, I've got, like, time's passed by, maybe it's been 3-4 years since that last relationship, so they think they're fine. And then they start a relationship with somebody and then realize that when they're out or they're not calling them, their mind starts to be triggered and start to think, is he cheating on me or is she cheating on me? And they still don't relate it and don't realize that they haven't actually dealt with that, you know, what's happened.
Agreed. Or
Yeah.
even the step back might be is you might need to make a conscious decision to tell that person that you can't date them and that they need to go address their traumas.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a big thing to be able to do that as well. It's like, that's if somebody can do that and let them know, look, you need to deal with this first, and once you've dealt with it, then
You can
you know,
revisit
yeah, we can revisit
if
things.
I'm single still,
Yeah, we can
you can
revisit it.
revisit.
And that's somebody that's not in fear of losing out on something. That's somebody who can say that, stands in a good place with themselves to say, look, I'm not scared of anything. I'm happy to walk my way and you walk your way while you deal with this, because if we stay together, or you stay in any relationship while you feel like this, then there's going to be a problem, whether it's me, whether it's the other person down the road, whoever it may be. It's not going to make a difference who that the outside is. It's to do with that particular person that's been cheated on, let's in this
Mhm.
example. So I think, that's why I say it comes down to you. It comes down to taking responsibility for yourself and what you're emanating in that relationship, what you're putting out there, how you're speaking about things, and or what you're saying to your partner. If you are fearing that they're out cheating, or if you are fearing whatever it may be, you must take responsibility for it. I think that's
Agreed.
just, yeah, it's just crucial in relationships. Too many people don't just I find it so easy to blame others, um, and it's not the way to go forward
Well,
in
you
a
know what?
relationship.
With that being said, why don't we talk about once you're in the relationship and how to address them? Because, like, let's say you go in full force knowing what this person's traumas are or what their issues are, and you build a relationship with them, you fall in love with them, but there's still going to be moments where they might be triggered. There's still going to be moments where they're going to feel certain ways or do certain things. And I think on today's podcast, I want to give people the tools to be able to say how to address it healthily. You know what I mean? Especially understanding that it's a very sensitive matter, especially when that person loves you and you love them.
Yeah, and
Now
there's
it's a
respect there.
whole different
Yeah.
dynamic now, because like let's say for example you're dealing with someone that didn't grow up without a father, maybe cheated on, or abandonment issues, and let's say in the relationship they're very sporadic with their emotions, or their emotions are very cut off. I think our audience would love to know, how do you address those things? Like, they might have been open before and it's a slow process, but like let's say for example something has happened to you, and I'll give an example, like a pet dies or something, and the other person's super emotional, and then the other person who's had like abandonment issues is just kind of like get over it type thing.
Yeah, I
You
think if you're just telling someone to get over something, I think that can actually put your back up because they're not listening, or they're not, there's that connection is not taking place. Because if you're just, it's like just, oh yeah, get over it. It's all good. Then you're gonna feel, I suppose you would feel like, well, you're not being listened to, you're not being heard. So I think once you're in the relationship, you can speak about it. What would help you feel better? What can I do? What can I do that will help this process along? What is it that I can bring to you that's going to help you? Because I do love and respect you. I have a massive respect for you, let's say, and I do love you. So I want to know, how can I, what can I do to help this out? And actually, I know somebody who has who's in a relationship, and their partner could be extremely negative, and what he does is literally will say, he will message her and give her words of wisdom and words of encouragement to say, it's not as bad as you think it is, you know, let's work through this. What can we do? What can make you feel better to get to the next step of this, so you don't feel that way? And and it always works, because that person might have another little bit of a meltdown sometimes, but he's very calm, assertive, like very sensitive towards her too, and listens to what she's got to say. So I think that's a really big thing, because when you feel like you're being heard, then you feel more comfortable, and then you can make light of it, rather than such a harsh thing.
like a passive
Yeah,
aggressive.
yeah, because then your partner and you can then come to like a lightheartedness about it, and you can start to laugh about it in a nice, easy way, rather than feeling so hard in on something and feeling this horrible emotion. Like, uh, I think in a really healthy, good relationship, that will work to be able to communicate things, rather than coming to someone and screaming and shouting, and that's not going to get you anywhere. But if you can just sit and have that conversation, and your partner who's hearing it actually listens, and conversates about it, I think it's a very good way forward, and will really help get past these issues. Because when you feel secure as well, Michael, especially if it's a woman, if she feels really secure in that relationship, if her man's making her feel super secure by what he's saying, what he's doing, everything's aligned in his actions and his words and the way he is towards her, then she's naturally going to want to open up and naturally trust him more, or naturally want to open up. And I think that goes same vice versa. You just,
Well, I think it really depends on what it is, right? Because like let's say for example, and this one's going to be an interesting one, neediness comes from the need to seek validation, right?
yes,
So dating somebody that needs constant validation is a form of trauma, because maybe they didn't get that from their parents, right?
yeah,
Maybe they didn't get validated or get enough attention. And in their adult life, that can be very detrimental to being in a relationship with them, because now they are in constant need of validation from you all the time, right? And then that can lead to like them always, do you think I'm attractive? Do you love me? Do you like whatever? A lot of
it's
people think that's healthy, but it's not.
no, it's not. But I think, like, I think I was having this conversation earlier on, and I was also saying one of the things that I have done for myself that I find has worked is, when I look at things that have happened and they've triggered me, I look at it what it is, and I realize it's a memory of what I've experienced.
Mm-hmm.
And because I'm able to see it as a memory, I identify what it is that I've attached this to,
A
this
feeling.
emotion to, the feeling and the emotion to it. And once I've recognized what that is, I can let that go and release it from me to say, well, actually, I'd much rather think like this or feel like this. I want to feel secure. I want to feel love. So I reach for that kind of feeling, or I bring myself to that rather than keep living in that past trauma that's happened, that I've experienced, because living in your past is just not going to get you moving forward too fast. You're going to keep yourself stuck in certain places, and it doesn't matter who you're with. You can end up going round and round in circles, different faces, different places, but experiencing the same thing because you're not letting go of what you've experienced. You're not coming to that place of saying, well, actually, I accept. I don't like what happened, but I accept it has happened, but I can't go back on myself and I can't change that experience. So what can I do about it now? I'm with somebody that I love and respect. I want this relationship to work. I want it to go the way I want it to be, blossoming and becoming the best of it. So what can I do to help myself in this situation? Like you said at the beginning, what books can I read? What what
Therapy.
can I, yeah, what, or can I go to, should I go to therapy, or what can I watch on YouTube, or what can I watch wherever that can help me come to terms with this and have an acceptance and be able to move on and be able to give my partner a good relationship too? Because at the end of the day, if you're keeping that inside yourself, then it's not fair on that other person either. If you're going to keep on repeating a cycle and keep coming to your partner with problems, because somebody can deal with it for a certain period of time, Michael, but then why should they have to live a life with somebody that's going to keep bringing them troubles all the time, you know?
Well, if we're being honest, and I hate to say this, it ties into what you said. A lot of people, their emotions are attached to those memories, so they think
Yeah,
that their emotions are reality, right?
and they're not.
So they're not, because they're ever changing. But telling somebody that, they're gonna get defensive and be like, "Well, my emotions, my emotions," instead
But
of
they need to
looking
get
at
over
it.
it, really.
Yeah, instead of looking at it and saying, this trauma, whatever it is affecting my relationship. This
Yeah,
trauma is affecting my friendships or anything like that. And it does need to be addressed, right? Because we're not telling you not to have emotions. We never said that. What we are telling you to address certain traumas and feelings that you might have that are hindering your relationships. Sometimes these traumas even allow you to stay in relationships longer than you should be. Like, let's say like you don't feel enough love. You're going to stay in a relationship that's hurtful, abusive, because the number one thing is that I've noticed that people do, and it's really sad to see this, is they'll try to validate their feelings and why they're staying in a relationship.
yeah,
That
absolutely.
they'll validate, oh, but they make me feel this way and they're good to me this time. And but are they consistent with it? And that's the thing. They think that their feelings validate them staying there. They don't.
They don't know. No, and they
That is, for me, that is
that's
some
the
form of a
way.
trauma, because you are afraid of abandonment. You are afraid to be left alone. So you're going to validate certain types of behaviors.
Behavior.
You're going to take your feelings and say, well, I've never felt this way before. You're acting like you're never going to feel this way again.
Yeah, and this is you've just brought up some amazing points there, Michael, and it's so true, right? People really get stuck on that and think they're not going to find it again. But again, that's living in your past to a certain degree,
Well,
because
that's some form of trauma. That's
and
what we
it's
want to look at.
yeah, exactly, it's some form of trauma because you're holding on. And this is where I say you must take responsibility for yourself, because if you don't, then you're gonna keep batting it off and batting it off, and then you don't respect you. you're letting yourself down because you're in a relationship that is not bringing you joy and happiness. And then you think that that's how it's always going to be, but it's down to you to bring that joy and happiness to your relationship and to open that up, not to anybody else. It's your own thing. And if you keep holding on to that stuff, um, then you're never gonna prosper with your relationships. You're
Well, I'm
gonna be
gonna say
stuck.
this: like, there's guys that will say, "Oh, but I love her so much, and but she makes me feel so good." But then, when you hear the dynamic of the relationship and the connection, there's really not.
That's right.
There's no respect. There's no
No.
understanding. There's like, and I always tell people this: if you were like in a relationship where you're like always contemplating if you need to leave the person or not,
Hmm.
you shouldn't be in that relationship, because if it was truly your person, let's be honest, if it was truly your person, you wouldn't have those feelings.
No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't. You wouldn't. You wouldn't. You're so right.
You
You
would be
wouldn't.
so certain, like no matter what happened, like yes, you guys might like be like, yeah, I might have like let, because again, no marriage is perfect, but I've heard like married men and even some of my friends say, yeah, me and my wife almost had a divorce. Didn't happen. But when it's your one, like you're not like, should I stay? Should I go? Like you guys might get into an argument saying, I think we might get a divorce, but it gets squashed quick, and you realize
Yeah.
that you are each other's ones. But
Yeah.
when you're in these relationships where you're like, should I stay? Should I go? Should I whatever? And you're just sitting there like wishy washy. To me, that is some type of trauma, and that you are afraid to be alone. You're afraid you're never going to feel this feeling again. You're coming up with an excuse to stay because you're like, well, it's never going to happen to me again. I'll never find this feeling. They make me feel. It's like, no, you need to really look at the relationship from a lens, put your glasses on, and say, this is not for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Because again, Michael, I think I just got to bring it back round to this point again. Someone's not going to make you feel, you're going to feel that, and they can enhance that feeling, but
Mhm.
you bring that feeling first, like you feel it, and then it either gets enhanced or not. So no one can't make you feel a certain way. They can't. It's your feelings, nobody else's. Do you know what I mean? So I think people have to realize that it's not about the other person. It's about you. It's about how you're showing up and how you're seeing the relationship. What lens are you putting on, and what emotions you're bringing to the relationship? Because if you're bringing that negative spin on the relationship constantly, or never, somebody, say your partner says something and you want to argue that point all the time, and you don't ever want to, you're constantly just bringing some kind of spin to it that's not a negative spin, then you're doing that. It's not that they're making you do that because they said something or done something you didn't like. Like I say, if you don't like what the other person is doing and you don't like how they are, why do you keep shouting and saying this stuff to them? Oh, I don't like this and I don't like that. Just don't be with them. If you don't like the stuff about them, why would you stick around?
Well, the accountability comes into because you chose them.
You chose them, yes, absolutely. But as time goes on, if you start seeing things that you don't like, or they're being ways that doesn't sit with you and it doesn't resonate with you, then stop arguing it. You
Well,
are
address it first, and
address it
then
first. Yeah,
yeah, if
yeah,
it's a problem
yeah,
and they keep like being deflective and they don't want to see that it's a problem, then you should totally leave. You see,
yeah,
what I'm like,
absolutely.
and I'll give you guys an example. Like if you're dating someone, for example, and you could chime in and like, let's say you guys have been dating, and the person says to you, "Do you think we're better off as friends?" You know what? We don't need to have that discussion. Then I'm out.
Yeah,
That's just me. Because if you're already feeling like, let's say you've been with the person for like 5 months, 6 months, whatever, and they feel that you're better as a friend, that feeling just didn't come out of nowhere.
absolutely.
Mm. So that's just
Absolutely.
me.
It's something
But
they've been feeling for a while, right?
exactly. They've been feeling that for a while. So I think even as I said, when you're in a relationship Anthea said it the best. Communication is very important, but what are the steps being taken to address the trauma? You guys, therapy don't have a negative connotation. A lot of people say, well, I don't want someone in the middle of my relationship. I don't want someone in the middle of my marriage. If it saves your relationship or your marriage, is it a bad thing?
No, of
If it
course not.
saves your relationship, that's what
Because
people don't understand. They have such a negative connotation towards therapy. But imagine if the partner you had and you guys would have went to therapy together, it probably would have saved your relationship or marriage.
because I think one of the biggest things that I mean, I've never been to therapy, but I can imagine there is questions asked, and I think
There
questions are
is.
super powerful because every question has an answer to it, right? So if somebody's asking you questions, then you must answer those questions, which helps bring things to the surface and
Like
helps
reflection type
and
stuff.
it helps you reflect. Yeah, then you can have your self realizations through it, and you can realize what you're doing and how what has all your traumas from the past, what where they're coming from, and you can bring them to your forefront here and now, and you're being questioned on them so you can heal from that. And
So
I
you
think
can
this,
address your problems. Yeah, exactly.
yeah, and then the outcome will be healing, which means that you can move forward in that relationship. Because if you really do want to, if you really feel like you said earlier on, Michael, that if you really feel that this person's for you and there's more good than there isn't good, and you do have a natural respect towards them and you both do naturally love each other, however, things are just going, your own stuff is getting in the way, then it's a brilliant thing to be able to bring it up to the surface, because then you will be able to move forward, or you'll come to a realization between the two of you that actually this isn't for us and we're probably better off going our own ways.
Well, that's what's interesting because even sometimes if you go to therapy and you've tried like everything and therapy didn't work, because for some people it doesn't work.
No, it doesn't always work.
Some
That's
people they've
right.
tried it and like they're still like crash course ending.
Yeah.
But at least you've tried everything to make it work.
Yeah.
And I think that's the important thing that we're trying to get you guys to understand that. And again, I'll break it down. Number one, know what you're signing up for. A lot of people get okey doked. And what I mean by that is they pay so much more attention to a person's looks. Not that looks don't matter. I'm making that very clear. Looks matter, but they're so focused on the looks that they're not peeling back the layers.
Mm,
Just because a person looks good doesn't make them a good boyfriend or girlfriend.
that's
Doesn't
right.
make them a good husband or a good wife. So you have to pull back the layers and see what's behind the curtain. And they're going to do the same thing with you. But I see a lot of people so obsessed with, oh, they look good, they're beautiful. But at the end of the day, what is behind that curtain? Because you need
Mm,
to ask yourself, can you deal with what's behind the curtain?
absolutely. Absolutely.
That is the most important thing. Is this person worth it enough for you to want to communicate with them and fix certain troubles and traumas when they come your way?
Yeah.
I always say two people can work so well together to fix things, but to some degree, if their trauma is like really intense, you know what I mean, there might need to be some healing that needs to be done first
Yeah.
before
And I think,
before a relationship can be visited.
yeah, because too many people, I think, also, Michael, just walk into relationships and not realizing these things. And actually, the best thing you can do for yourself is spend as much time by yourself as possible and get to know you, get to know what you like, what you don't like,
Why you behave the way you behave.
why you behave the way you behave. Understand yourself first and foremost, because you can't ask somebody else to understand you if you don't understand you first. Like, it doesn't even make sense. You need to understand you first, and then the other person, you can then relay that information to somebody else and they can then understand you. But if you're going into something you don't understand yourself, you don't know yourself, then how can you expect somebody else to know you if you don't know you?
Well, I'm
uh,
going to throw something very interesting out there. And this is why it's so important to know yourself, because I had a conversation with someone. I asked them, why were you entertaining this person? They weren't the nicest person. Oh, and they couldn't even tell me why.
mm,
They just said, oh. yeah, I like the feeling, but I'm like, you couldn't see this guy being the father of your child. You couldn't see a long term future with this guy. Why did you entertain him longer than you should have? I don't know. I just
Good
kind of like
question.
the feeling. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense. So you
No.
just entertain this person, even though they were a kind of a crappy person, but you didn't see a future with them, but you still let it go on.
Yeah. And that's not fair on the other person either. If you can't see something to go going anywhere with that person, then it's not, why keep them there and
But
not
let's
allow
look at
them
the
to go and,
answer. The ignorance of I don't know is not acceptable.
no, it's not.
Because
It's not
it
acceptable.
ties into what you said is you need to know yourself and why you do what you do. Why do you behave that way then?
Mm,
Why do you behave in ways where you're going to entertain someone longer than you need to? Why are you putting up with bad behavior? These are all things that you need to look at.
absolutely.
Is it a self love
Absolutely.
thing? Is it an abandonment thing? Is it you don't feel good enough thing? And again, we can't address every single trauma, but again, it's understanding that some people are worth working things with through and some aren't.
Yeah, I suppose, and this is the thing, isn't it? I think you've if you're not open to doing that, then you're gonna have a problem. You've got to be open. You've got to open your mind and allow things and allow yourself to get to know where where your issues are, where your problems are, where your traumas are, and really get to the core of them and understand them. So that you can have, because that's what we're here to do, date better. This is what it's all about, and be able to have better relationships,
It
nicer
heightens
relationships.
your level of awareness.
Yeah, of
So
course
you
it does.
make better decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. When you know yourself, then you can. Like, if you don't know much about yourself and you're just plodding along with life and you just kind of doing things because you don't know why, like your friend said, oh, I don't know. Like, so what do you know? If you don't know why,
Exactly. See, that's good. It's like exactly. If you don't know, then what do you know?
what do you know? Like, ask yourself honestly, like, what do you know? What is it about you that you know? Because if you're playing with another person like that, then, and you don't even know why you're doing that, then you need to ask yourself more questions,
You know
and
what's
get to
funny,
know you.
and I'm glad that you brought this up. See, it's the lack of awareness
Yeah.
that's very interesting because I have a best friend and we joke around about this all the time. I was getting to know a girl a long time ago, right? And she calls me and she calls me and I'm like, well, why did you call? And you know what her answer was? I don't know.
Oh.
I'm like, how do you not know why you called? Like, I was so baffled. Like, I could not hold my breath in that this person picked up the phone, called me, and I
I
said,
have
well,
no
why did
idea
you
why.
call? And they're like, I don't know.
So what
Okay,
do
so
you
then
know?
how
Is
am
the
I
question
supposed to
again.
yeah, what am I supposed to do with that?
Yeah. What is it? Is it a conversation you was looking to have? Is there something you need from
Yeah,
me?
like
Is it
attention or something. And to bring it full circle, that's what people are doing in dating. They have no idea or
idea?
clue who they are and even what they want
Yeah, so
out of
true.
a partner. One of the biggest things that I've noticed, you ask someone, what are you looking for in a partner? They have no idea, but they say, I want a boyfriend or I want children or marriage. So what you're telling
Anyone.
me is all the guys or girls that you've dated, because guys do this too, they have no idea what they want out of a female. How are you supposed to get the kids in marriage if you have no idea what you want in a partner? So that everybody you've dated, you had no idea.
And that's why things don't last, because people don't know. They're going into it blindsided. They're just meeting up with another person. And it's not easy to be with another person, you know?
They're just hoping to get a cake. They're just like, well, we'll just throw all these ingredients together
Yeah,
and poof.
and see what happens.
And
Let's
it's
see what
like,
happens from it. And
and
then
it
you find out down the line that actually you wanted marriage and children and they didn't. But you didn't get to have that conversation because you
or
just
just
went in for
or
it.
just anything. And it's like, because it's always gonna bring me back to that girl that just called and said,
I don't know.
I don't know. You called me.
What did you want?
Yeah, like what are you looking for?
So what happened with that conversation? Did it last very long?
That was a short conversation. Let's just say that, because she just called just to call, and I'm like, but that's what people do in dating sometimes. They have no blueprint,
No.
they have no standards, they just date.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, you have to have a standard and procedure to set the tone, because then it keeps the wrong ones away.
Yeah, and if you have that imprinted in you and that's what you know what you want, you won't just come the first person that tells you they're interested in you, or you won't just go along with them because you want to be in a relationship,
Or you find them attractive.
or you find them attractive. You'll actually, if you have that patience, it's just like planting a seed, and you're just like, you're nurturing that seed. You're getting to know you, getting to know what it is that you like, what you want in your partner, and then have that patience for it to start growing and blossoming. And once it's ready, once you're completely ready, and you know, you'll come across that right person. So you'll meet other people in between, but you'll know actually you've had that few conversations, and you've come to that understanding. You're not for me, because you want this and that, and I want this and that, and it's not, you know, it's just not going to merge. It's going to be
Well,
come to a point where it's not going to work, you know.
well, I've always said, just because you find someone attractive doesn't mean you need to be with them.
Exactly.
Because you guys might find
Exactly.
each other attractive, but you might have like nothing of substance to
Yeah.
like to in common to build off of.
Well, and I'm going to say this, but I've met guys before, found them really attractive, and then found out they're married. So it's like, well, I know that I'm not going there. But just because I found them attractive doesn't mean I should go there. It's just,
Yeah.
I found them attractive. But once you are, and that's one of the things I know, I'm not getting with a married guy. I'm very done on that. So, because
I
I know
agree
that,
with you on that, because like
yeah,
I've met some girls very attractive, but their mind is like a bag of cats.
yeah,
And I'm like, this is
mm,
boring. Like
yeah,
this
it's
is boring.
boring.
Like, because there's nothing of substance in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm like, I could see why guys pursue you, but I don't get
Or
why
short
they
term.
stay.
Yeah,
There's no
yeah,
substance. Can I
yeah,
have deep conversation? And we've talked about it in the podcast. Can I go deep with you? Stefan says it best. If I can't go deep with you, then why am I with you?
yeah, absolutely. So
So it's
yeah,
like you're causing. I always like to say this. A lot of times people like to complain, oh, this person did this to me and they did this and they're mean, and you cause your own problems.
yes, exactly. Take responsibility.
And again, guys, like we don't name throw under this bus. I caused my own problem last weekend. I let someone back in and get close to me that was an ex. I fell for the okey doke. I caused my own problem. I
Yeah,
didn't stand firm and strong in my first decision.
yeah.
So I always like to say, these problems that you create your own problem.
But at least you can take it on the chin as such and know that it was you. You opened that door. You allowed it to happen.
Mhm.
So you can't get angry with the other person,
Nope.
because you're the one that allows it. And I think this is so, you know, crucial to understand that it's stop that finger blaming. If you allow somebody to do that to you, yes, you're going to have a conversation about it and understand and be able to come to your own understanding of what's happened. But no matter what, at the end of the day, you allowed it. You chose
Hmm.
that person. You opened the door. You answered the call. You messaged back. You entertained
You
it.
engaged.
You engaged in it. So I think, you know, with trauma, with anything that comes that anything that's going on, I think you really do have to just take that for you and understand it. And when you're in that relationship, if it does come up and you didn't realize that it hasn't been actually, you haven't actually healed from it, then communicate with your partner. Let them know, look, this is something that I've experienced in the past. I seem to be triggered by it, but I would love to see how I can move past this. Like,
How
can you,
we can move past this,
well,
because if
yeah,
you're
how we,
in the
yeah,
relationship, you don't break up with them.
no,
But as you said, your answer is, give as much support as you can,
yeah.
but they got to sort through it.
Yeah, because you can't sort through it for them. You've got to do it. Yes, you can go together to go and see somebody or
Or
speak about
read books
things.
together, or just address it, but you can't
Yeah,
let it go unignored.
no, absolutely. And I think that's what it comes down to. You cannot let it go unignored, and that's really a good point there.
So, anyways, guys, we will end this one short. Well, not really, but yes.
Yeah.
And we will see you guys on Friday.
Yeah. Hope you enjoyed today. Hope you got some goodies out of it. And please do let us know. Please communicate with us. Communicate and let us know how you're finding these podcasts. Are they helping you? Is there anything
Yeah.
yeah, just let us know,
And please like, share, and subscribe too.
absolutely.
Don't forget to do that. Don't
Cool.
forget to do that.
Yeah.
Um, the reason why I'm checking my phone is for us to talk about what we are going to be discussing on Friday. The signs someone is leading you on. That's
Aha.
gonna
Oh,
that's gonna be an interesting one,
oh,
because
it's
I've had
funny.
it happen and she's had
I,
it happen. So it's gonna be a very interesting.
and what's interesting is I just opened Facebook to have a look as well, and the person appeared in front as you said the subject. So yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, so we're
all
gonna
right.
discuss that
Friday.
on Friday, because a lot of people again get okey doked.
Yep.
And they've
Big
been
time.
okey doked a lot. So
Yeah.
we want to help you not have that happen to you,
Yep.
and actually be able to walk away. And there's power in walking away, but I don't want to give too much away. So you'll have to tune in on Friday. Please like, share, subscribe on Facebook. We want to start trying to also push you guys towards our clip channel. Guys, if you want to watch the shorter version of this, the 3-minute version, you can go find it on YouTube. It will be in the link down below, where you'll be able to watch the clip version on YouTube. So please do that, and we will talk to you on Friday.
Take care, everyone.
Take
Enjoy. See
care.
you later. Bye.